Hi YouTube, welcome back to another knife review. Today we're taking a look at the Kershaw Induction designed by G&G Hawk. And a little disclaimer before I do this review, just so you know about it before you buy this knife. I was trying to adjust the pivot, because you can see it is a little off and it kind of wobbles a little. You can kind of push it back and forth. So I was trying to adjust it, kind of work on the centering and some lock rock. Has just a little bit of play. I think it's just inherent with this lock design and the tolerances that Kershaw works with. But this pivot right here seems like it would be a captured pivot because, you have the screw here. You should screw it and that should stay in place. But this screw has been turning for me. So I cannot take this knife apart, at least from what I've tried so far. You can see kind of a little shiny part in there where I've been using the Torx bit on it. So I was trying to disassemble this knife, trying to at least look inside it, see if I could fix any lock rock or centering, and could not get it. I've seen other disassemblies. It seemed to work fine for other people. Epic Snuggle Bunny, Kevin Cleary, they all have disassembly videos, so they were able to get it apart. It must have been captured for them, and maybe this one's just a mess up, but little disclaimer before you buy it, just in case that happens to you. And now we'll get into the normal review, like I've already filmed, but start off, just comes in the regular Kershaw box. And like I said, I already filmed this review, so hopefully I remember more stuff to say this time and remember everything I said in the last recording. But here is a look at it. Still a very good looking knife. And first we'll get into some of the specs and features. We have a 7.625 overall length, a 3.125 blade length, inches that is, 4.375 inch handle, 0.135 inch blade stock. I measured that myself, a very weird measurement it seems. 0.135 doesn't seem to be used very much as blade stock, but that's what it came out on the calipers. Handle width, or handle thickness of 0.55 inches, and a weight of 3.75 ounces. So really not too bad on weight because of this aluminum handle. On Blade HQ, they designated this blade shape a drop point blade. On GP Knives, I think it was, they designated it as a modified spear point because of this big swedge, I think, but I don't know exactly. I think both of those work fine, so choose whichever one you want, but that's what it is. Plain edge, hollow grind. 8CR 13 MOV blade steel. There you can see that right there with the Hawk Lock and Kai USA logo. Made in China, like most of Kershaw's cheap knives. Clip location is tip up, left hand, right hand carry. It has a Hawk Lock design like you saw on the blade, so pull that back and the blade closes. And it uses a flipper opener, as you also saw. Now into the appearance and design language of the knife. You can tell a lot of black going on. The only really light spots of the knife are inside the lock right there and the satin on the blade. Everything else is black, black anodized aluminum, black painted hardware, black painted clip, black oxide coated blade. I don't know the exact difference between an oxide coating or black oxide and just paint on a blade, but I believe the black oxide should be stronger than regular paint. I also forgot to mention for the specs that this is a FRN or some type of polymer, not G10. Kind of has a faux G10 texture, but kind of hard to tell. But that is just a polymer, and that kind of just covers up the whole locking spring mechanism in there. Also provides traction. Also has a large choil right there. Nice place for your finger to go. Makes the knife a lot more comfortable. Don't really think you can really use it holding it back here. So nice big choil on the front. Works great. No jimping or anything anywhere, but still feels like it locks into your hand. Or feels like your hand locks into it. Got a lanyard hole back here, which is pretty much just 2 holes in the scales. Doesn't really interfere with anything, so don't mind having it there, even though I don't use lanyards. Standoffs back there. Like I said, black hardware for pretty much everything. Jimping back here on the flipper tab, and a little bit of texturing right there on the button. It's also ramped a little. You can barely tell. Kind of hard to fire it with my left hand, but nice and easy with my right hand. So now onto the goods. What I like about this knife. So the lock design, very cool. So I think how it works is, I think there are 2 kind of stop pin type things that are pressed into the blade. Kind of hard to tell. You can kind of see one down at the bottom down there, but it is kind of a tight fit in there. So inside here you might be able to see it. Yeah, there you go. There's a little stop pin pressed into the blade, so once it overcomes that lock, then the lock can slide forward right there, which then blocks that pin from being able to rotate back that direction. So that keeps the knife locked. I don't really know what keeps the knife back this way, because I feel like if you're pushing back right here and I can feel a spring pushing against it, but it's not the lock because the lock isn't moving or anything. So there must be some other type of spring in there affecting that, but very cool lock design, very unique. Definitely something I like about it. I also like that it's not very slippery in hand like a lot of aluminum knives are. Just plain aluminum or titanium's kind of slippery sometimes, so this hard anodized aluminum on this side, very smooth, but the choils and this FRN really help your hand lock into it. Doesn't really make me think that if I stab into a piece of wood or something, I don't know, my hand could slide up, but at least this will prevent it somewhat, so definitely not bad. Pocket clip works great. There's a little thing that's bad about it, but pretty much it goes in your pocket, comes out of your pocket fine. So I definitely like that. Pretty plain, kind of cheap looking, but definitely works. It is a very good fidget knife, so just flipping it open, flipping it closed. You can kind of get it to where you can flip it open and flip it closed all in one motion, but it kind of gets a little hard. You kind of got to get used to it to do that, but also has a very smooth action. And now on to some of the bad things. Like I said before, the disclaimer, the pivot moves. Definitely shouldn't be a free spinning pivot, should be a captured pivot, but it is rotating, so I cannot disassemble the knife. That is a very bad thing. Pretty much tried everything to get it open. Couldn't get it to stay, or couldn't get that captured side to stay. But that and the little bit of lock rock that I think is just kind of the way this whole system in here, like it feels like the whole lock is moving, not just the blade. So I don't know if it's really lock rock or if it's just kind of flex in the locking system, but doesn't feel great. Doesn't feel like it's going to fail, but definitely doesn't feel safe. Or it feels safe, but definitely not like if your life depended on it. I wouldn't trust it. Also, the clip ramp right there kind of sticks out a little far, and I think that's why it works so well. It is a very strong clip. So there you can see, I can't even really pull it off the aluminum, but it does work well. Goes in the pocket nice and easy. It's just that gives a little bit of a hot spot on your hand. You can kind of feel it right there when it's pushing into your palm. Also, there are sharp corners everywhere on this knife. Back here, these corners should have been knocked down a little more. Right here a little. Definitely some right there, some major pointy parts. And really sharp pokey parts right here. There's nothing really you can do about it because it's aluminum, so you can't really sand it down like titanium or something because it's hard anodized. So once you sand it down, it'll be all shiny aluminum right there and look weird. So you're kind of just stuck with it. It would have been nice if they knocked those down a little before they anodized it. So definitely something they should have done. Also, this black oxide coating, pretty sure it'll scratch pretty easily. I've really only cut boxes, paper, tape, stuff like that with it. So my oxide coating's still fine, but I mean, if you're whittling a stick or something, it'll probably take the coating right off. So definitely not great, not as good as some other coatings that you can use, or just a plain satin blade. The satin right there on the flats looks good, so if they would have just used that on everything, I think that would have been better. Also, the button right here, you can see it's got a little pattern, but definitely hard to press. It would have been better if it was a little more textured. Maybe the ramp was a little stronger. You can see a couple times in this video I've used my fingernail and just pulled it back right here just because my finger's kind of rubbing raw just from doing that so much. So yeah, if they would have made that just a little easier, that would have helped out a lot. And a little comparison now with the regular comparison knife, the Paramilitary 2. I'll try to line it up pivot to pivot right there. You can see handle seems a little longer, blade is a little longer, and handle is thinner on the Paramilitary 2, but the blade is thicker. These knives both have locking systems where your fingers aren't really in the way of the blade when it's closing. So right on the back of the Paramilitary 2 and right on the side of the Kershaw Induction. So that's definitely a cool thing. Not something that would make me buy this knife over something else, but cool little thing you can throw in, I guess. Yeah, so a lot thinner handle on the PM2, and you can really feel it. But with this being aluminum, it is very light. Now, to my final recommendations, you can kind of see some of my hand sweat on there, so that definitely adds to the slipperiness of the knife, but I think that G10 texture right there helps out. So, final recommendations, final thoughts on the knife. I like it. I like it a lot. I liked it a lot more before I knew I couldn't take it apart, so that's kind of annoying. If I want to clean it now, I kind of just have to spray it out, I guess. I don't know. It kind of looks like there's phosphor bronze on one side and some type of nylon washer on the other side, but I can't really tell. So I don't know what's going on over there. But it's a very fun knife. Flips great. Closing it is fun. For $24.99, which is what it is on Blade HQ right now, or at least at the time of me buying it, That's a great price for it. I think it's a great knife for 24 bucks. On other websites, it's around 30. So even for that, great price. Definitely recommend it. Hopefully, if you can hold it in person before you buy it, like going to a knife store, you can check it out. Make sure there's no blade play. Make sure, I don't know, you can't really test the pivot, but kind of check everything out. Make sure it's a good quality controlled one, because this one definitely isn't the best. It's just a really good fidget knife. You could definitely EDC it. It's a fun little EDC because of this interesting lock design. It's not just a regular lock back or a regular liner lock or anything, but something very cool and mechanical with a very mechanical sound to it. So I like it. I recommend it, especially for $24.99, but just try to make sure you get a good one. That's pretty much all I have to say about it. Check out some of the other videos on my channel. If there's any other knives you're interested in seeing, I might have done a review on it, so try to look that up. Give me some watch time minutes on some of the other videos. Maybe subscribe if you like this video, and thanks for watching.